Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Mighty Matt Podcast. A real special episode. Today, one of my old buddies. If basketball has Jordan, golf has Tiger, boxing has Ali. When it comes to publishing and advertising sales, the greatest of all time is my guest and former publisher of Time, president of Fortune, CEO of Parade Magazine, the big man from Little Compton, Rhode Island, Jack Haire. Welcome to the podcast, Jack.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
You haven't lost your fastball, buddy.
I had to get a little intro in there for you.
God bless you.
So, we've worked together for a long time, but, obviously my audience will be new to you. So I always wanted to ask you, when you were growing up, how were your parents? How did they play a role in your life and kind of get you to be the person that you are?
Well, I was blessed with two great parents. My mom was largely at home, and two brothers and two sisters. My dad was my role model in many ways, sort of a hard-ass, hardworking, but very interested guy, loved people. So they were both there. Not everybody has a couple of parents, and I was fortunate, and they showed me that hard work was what's required. And today it might seem like five's a small or a big family, but we were all making our beds and
Sure.
and moving forward.
One of the many things I admire about you is your sense of integrity in life and in business, because I think we both agree that, advertising, you can find all sorts of people. I always really admired your style. And where did that kind of come from? Where did you learn the ropes of what's right and what's wrong?
Well, thank you, Matt. I was very, very fortunate. My first job was at a school. You could check this so you'd find out that I wasn't an A student. As a result, my first job when I graduated from college in Washington, D.C., was working for McGraw-Hill in Detroit, Michigan. I'm not sure there were any other applicants for that job. So I was able to get it, and I worked not really for, but I worked right near a guy who was just a great early mentor. This was at a time they really didn't have much of a training program. They threw you out there, and he was great. The publisher that I worked for was a great teacher. And then, you learned a lot from the good people that you would meet along the way, whether they were people that worked in ad agencies where you and I met, or people that worked, whether they were the clients or the agent or your colleagues. You can learn a lot from the good people around you. And I was fortunate.
Sure. Now, I want to get to the heart of where you learned your management style, because, I would try to find someone that didn't love working for you, and you can't really find them. And, you locked arms with your team and were in the trenches with people. But when did you first become a manager and kind of learn that style?
Well, I thank you. It was funny. I worked at Fortune when I first joined Time Inc. They came across me when they were looking for a Pittsburgh manager, and I was in Pittsburgh with McGraw-Hill. They quickly determined that I was way too immature to be left on my own as a manager of any kind. But they thought there might have been something there, so they offered me a job in New York. So I came to New York. If I wasn't on the bottom rung, I was reaching for the bottom rung, and I had a lot of people around that were very helpful. And then, as you know, our world, and we were lucky to work for a great company then, Time Inc.
Yep.
But it was a results-oriented business, certainly in sales, circulation. And, the thing I always loved about that was it didn't matter how long you had been there, because clearly somebody's always been there longer than you.
Yep.
Somebody knows people better than you. Somebody's more connected. But if you work hard and you are creative, as you always were, put points on the board, you can move ahead. So not to, blow my own horn, but I went to Boston after a couple of years and ran that little office. Then I went out to Chicago, and then I came back to New York. And when I got back to New York, I was I don't know, 31. And all of a sudden, all the
Yep.
people that I had started with were now working for me. And it was odd, because I was
Sure, sure.
like you, I was raised in a family where you respect your elders and where you're polite. And now I'm theoretically the boss and making decisions, and so really with very little training in terms of management. I just tried to set a good example. I not ask people to do what I wouldn't do myself. I set, pretty high expectations for our team,
Sure.
and I liked it, and they seemed to like it. And it's a world where you try to learn what you're doing that's working, and what you're doing that's not working. And one thing became pretty clear to me early on was that if you weren't being yourself, you didn't really have much resonance.
That's absolutely the truth. And I've told this story a million times, which is when I came to you to move from marketing into sales, and I was concerned about being a disabled person in sales and people reacting to me in just a different way. Would that have an impact on sales? And without hesitation, you said, Sterling, some people's personalities are their disabilities. You're not going to have a problem. With that comment, my life changed for the better.
You were ruined.
I was ruined. I turned into a salesperson. I mean, I was always a salesperson.
All over the world.
Wow.
Doing that.
That's
IBM.
right. That's right.
Spending an
That-
unlimited expense account in Paris and going through it
I
all.
know. Yeah, that's right, kids. There was a time when you could have fun in advertising. That brings me to another question. Once I did move into this job on IBM, we had the Person of the Century issue coming up. IBM was looking to do a global program. And then I'm sitting in a meeting and I hear you and others saying, well, we need somebody to go out and pitch this to the regions and go to London, Paris, and Tokyo. And you said that's a job for the worldwide account director. And that was me. And I'm sitting there in my 20s with no passport, never been out of the country, and I had no idea what to expect. But talk to me about your decision to A, do that, and B, send a kid like me around the world, because that seems like a bad decision to me.
Well, it turned out to be, other than you spending way more than you should have on the trip, it was an excellent decision. And
Yes.
I'll tell you, you always give me a little too much credit for that comment about, although I do remember saying it, that your personality wasn't going to be an issue for you, and that people weren't going to give you the business if it didn't make sense. But
That's right.
you and I met. You were working at the company then called Lintas, right?
That's right.
On the IBM account. And I saw your name came across, our radar screen, because
Sure.
all of our sellers loved calling on you, had fun.
Oh,
And I knew the IBM people, one of whom had been your boss.
Yep.
At that point, Jake Sankey. I knew the people at the agency, and I saw how you worked with people, how you supported your clients, how you looked for the fair deal for everybody. That's our world then and now is a results oriented world, and you
Yep.
were very good at it, and you are very good at it. And so it wasn't, it was the same criteria that we judge, anybody back then.
Sure.
Who's going to make a difference? The clients are very busy. They're not going to spend time with someone that they don't respect and they don't feel can add value. This was a world in global advertising, somewhat fraught because there were politics within IBM, with the agency, within time. Nobody really trusted anybody. I'm not saying that about IBM, but probably the Time Inc. people most of all. And you had a very nice way of, you were bringing enthusiasm, you were bringing a good idea, you were bringing it to life. It was very easy, and I just remember it was just a home run. You did a great job.
That's great. Thank you so much for saying that. I will also say, for the disabled people that might be listening to this, to have these types of opportunities, it takes not only the assertiveness that I had, but having an ally like you in a senior leadership position really helps. The unemployment rate for disabled people hovers around 70%. And a lot of that has to do with managers not being aware or the number of candidates in the category. But if we're going to move forward and get more disabled people employed and doing exciting things out there, it's going to take people like me and like Jack to do that. So you are the perfect example because in a lot of companies, and it goes like this, people look to the leaders. What are they doing? And you had faith in me and hired me to do a job. And I did it. And, it requires that kind of faith at senior levels. So I appreciate everything that you've done in that way.
Well, Patty, it takes, I think, I don't know about writing code or world of AI, but in most businesses, it takes determination and it takes commitment and it takes,
Yep.
confidence in yourself. You can only have so much of that yourself. It's very helpful when other people are believing in you and saying, let's do this together. I hope two things. One, I hope they, end up getting into the office enough so they can feel
Yeah.
part of a team,
Yep.
whether you're disabled or not. Anybody, particularly
Yep.
young people, getting
Sure.
kind of to see and draft off your colleagues and to do what's required because it nobody comes with a guarantee that this
Nope.
person's going to be successful, but I never had any question about you because you had a magnetism about you, and most people do if they let people see in and if they do the work that's required.
Yep. Well, thank you so much, Jack. That means obviously a great deal to me. So now I want to have a little bit of fun. First of all, how's Kathy doing?
She's doing great, thank you.
And how did you meet her?
I met her on an interview, actually. I was up in Boston with Timik. I had met her brother,
Yep.
who worked for the ad agency Hill Holiday the first night I was there. And we became friends over the next year. And then he got
Sure.
transferred. He was going to go to Houston to work for Y&R. And somebody in my office, husband worked at Hill Holiday, and they had a dinner
Sure.
for him the night he was leaving. And she came into the office the next day, not Kathy, but my colleague, and said, now, Timmy was my buddy. I wasn't close enough to him, obviously, to be invited to this Tweety Hill Holiday dinner. But
No. Yeah.
my colleague came in the next day and said, Timmy's sister is really cute. And my answer, as the bubble over my head was going off, was Timmy never told me he had a sister. So about a month later, he's gone in Houston, the worthless son of a gun. And I get a call from this young woman, Kathy Cohen, saying that she was interested in getting into the magazine advertising sales
Oh,
world.
really? Yeah,
And
sure.
could I, with my very busy schedule,
Yeah. Could you squeeze her in? Right.
could I find the time to visit with her? And of course, taking a page out of the Mighty Matt podcast, I said,
Yes, of course.
but it would have to be at the end of the day for a drink.
Yes. Refreshments are required.
So the rest is history. 43 years later, I guess.
43 years. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Tell her I said hello. And the boys, how are the boys doing?
The boys are great. Johnny's in Atlanta. He's got two kids, two boys, one more.
Wow.
And Billy's in between Charleston and New York. And
That's wonderful.
got a great girlfriend in Charleston.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, Jack, I usually close these with a really weird question, but I think you're going to like it.
Oh, yeah.
So if I were to clone you and there were two Jack Haires sitting in front of me, what question would I ask to determine the real Jack Haire?
Oh, man. I would say, I would turn it around and say, I don't mean to blow my own horn here, but in my youth, I was a wrestler, as I think you know, in
Yes.
high school and college. And I might ask, did you ever wrestle somebody that had a disability? That would be the first question.
Okay.
And the second question would be, and how did you do?
Right.
The answer to the first question would obviously, for the real Jack Haire, be yes.
Okay.
And to the second question is the answer which you could sort of check the records on. I got my ass kicked. So I remember wrestling in high school against Oak Hill School for the Blind in Hartford,
Okay,
Connecticut,
sure.
and Gallaudet University in Washington, which is for people that were mostly hearing impaired. But
Sure, sure.
and I just think, if you go into the arena and you're feeling sorry for somebody else, you better watch out. You better watch out.
That is great. I had no idea. What a great story. Well, Jack, it is good to see you.
Hey, Matt,
I really
great to
appreciate
see
you
you.
taking the time. I hope you enjoyed that episode, and I hope you'll click like and subscribe so you can meet the mighty.